This is Brian with ScreenFiles.com and My Two Cents. The remarkable success of Marvel Studos' The Black Panther has a lot of people wondering how this could have possibly happened. And to be totally honest, I think it's fairly obvious, but we need to examine a few factors first. The first of those factors, which this video will comprise entirely, is the idea of Mindspace, which perhaps can be thought of as brand identification. And I define Mindspace as simply when one thing defines a whole category of things. For instance, for a long time, a copy was called a Xerox because Xerox made copying machines. I think they're actually in business services right now primarily, but copying machines isn't their main line anymore. But for a time, that's what they were known for, copying machines. And so when you made a copy, you made a Xerox. No matter what type of machine you actually used, be it a Toshiba or whomever else makes copies, it was called a Xerox. In people's minds, a copy equated with Xerox. Now, again, never mind what machine you actually used. So this is an example of Mindspace, and Xerox occupying most people's mind space when it came to copiers. What's happening is that Marvel Studios is doing the same thing in reference to superhero movies. And the best example I can find of this is, besides Black Panther, was when I went to see another movie. I don't recall the movie off the top of my head, but that movie isn't the point. When I went to see a movie, there was someone in the audience who said, when the Avengers Infinity War trailer aired, said something to the effect of, "Those are the good superheroes." Now, that for me was remarkable to hear, because this person equates good superheroes with Marvel Studios characters. So, in people's minds, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people think this way, if you want to see the best superheroes, you watch a Marvel Studios movie. Now, what this means is, by default, everyone else who makes superhero movies, such as DC Films or anyone else, are going to be also rans. This doesn't mean that their movies are going to fail. This doesn't mean that their movies won't be good. This does mean, though, that in people's minds, these characters don't define what a superhero is. And this is really interesting because it even applies to what many would call iconic characters, such as Batman and Superman. If the Marvel Studios logo isn't there, in many people's minds, these are not good heroes. And I use air quotes deliberately because clearly it's not, in a truer sense of the phrase good, accurate. But in a sense of people and what they think of superheroes, it is. Marvel Studios, I should say, are coming to define what a superhero movie means to people. And this is a remarkable feat, frankly, but also dangerous for other companies. This is why you can have a movie based on Ant-Man, who frankly, outside of comic books, no one has heard of. Why you can have a movie based on Black Panther, in this instance, who appeared once in Captain America Civil War, and have it be a movie in terms of its revenue paralleling a Star Wars movie. Now keep in mind, the Black Panther in the comics, I wouldn't necessarily call him a C-list character, but he's certainly a tertiary character. He's not a main character. Well, he wasn't a main character. That's likely to change because of Marvel Studios in people's minds. And this is only one reason, by the way. By no means the only reason why Black Panther is successful as it is. And in other videos in this series, I'll explore it even further. But this is the most immediate reasons. So what's most interesting about this Mindspace idea is that since Marvel Studios occupies what it means to be a superhero movie in most people's minds, therefore, it actually works to their benefit that they introduce characters nobody has heard of. And that's remarkable when you think about it, because they're introducing something new, and most people assume it to be original. and they hadn't heard of it. And this works in their favor, which is, again, total 360 from the way this typically works. And ironically, since it works well, it works in the favor of introducing characters no one has heard of. It works against those that they have that aren't from Marvel, and that's an important point to make. So that's how I think you can have a Justice League underperform a Thor movie. People have heard of Batman, people have heard of Superman. Wonder Woman was one of the more successful, if not the most successful, DCEU movie thus far. But that movie underperformed. And again, there are lots of reasons for it. But one reason is that those characters are iconic, to be sure, but iconic only to a certain section of the population. Now, let's look at for a moment what I mean by iconic. I don't mean that people have heard of them. Most people have heard of, I would say most people in this world, frankly, have heard of Superman and Batman, and to a lesser extent, Wonder Woman. But that's not the same thing as iconic when I hear most people use the word, as in they know about these characters and they care about them immensely. That's not what's happening. People have heard of them, and that's pretty much it. You've heard someone else mention it. You've seen a Superman movie sometime in the past. You've seen a Batman movie sometime in the past. So you've heard of these characters, but they mean nothing beyond that. That iconic status is countered, in other words. Being that Marvel Studios occupies the mind space for what it means to be a superhero movie for most people, they've done something pretty clever to make sure that that remains the case. First off, they've created two logos. There's the original Marvel Studios logo, which is attached to Marvel Studios productions made by other people, such as Fox or Sony prior to Spider-Man Homecoming, which is made by Marvel Studios. And there's their new logo, which only is on Marvel Studios productions. People aren't stupid. People can see that, and they pick up on it. Even unconsciously, they pick up on it. And they've come to understand what is a Marvel Studios movie and what is not a Marvel Studios movie. This works to their benefit. This is one reason why I think that Fox movies don't benefit from the explosion of popularity that Marvel Studios is bringing. They're not Marvel movies per se, and people know it. So this Mindspace concept is a crucial one, and is one of the ways that Marvel Studios is winning. And I know they're not competing per se, but they are. And as I mentioned earlier, I'll explain further in this series other reasons why Black Panther is so successful. But building on that, this is Brian with ScreenFiles.com and my 2 cents. Peace.